feed. Just so people know, what is the name of your podcast so they can go find it if they're interested?
It's called The History Buff.
Awesome. And I'll put a link in the description um, for people to go check that out. I love history, and when I did this audit, Artie had done a series on the
Mhm.
Tudors.
The Tudors, yeah.
Yeah, which was very interesting to me. So, okay, so I usually start with what's on your mind. Now, for some context for the watchers, I did or the listeners, I did audit Artie's podcast. So we're starting with a pretty good document. So, uh, what's on your mind, Artie?
So yeah, basically just I want to sort of try and monetize the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm growing my listenership, but like not really quite at the rate that I want to,
Mm-hmm.
or really not quite at the rate that I need in order to be able to, secure sponsorship and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think it's about kind of finding out, I suppose, what the not issues are, but like I guess the things that could be tweaked in order to make it as I guess marketable as possible. But yeah, no, and so that's kind of why that's what led me to you.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think one of the questions that I was turning around in my mind that I'm excited to get clarification on here is you're a tour guide in
Ellen.
Berlin. Okay, cool. I got like really nervous saying that for a minute. Um, is this like through a company or is this like your own thing?
I work at the moment mostly with companies, but I'm now sort of starting to kind of create my not create my own business, but starting to tour as an independent tour guide.
Cool. Yeah. This is interesting to me because like I'm not going to tell you to make a local podcast. They're not they're tough. I do one and they're tough. Um, but I think that there could be an opportunity here to showcase your skills
Hmm.
um, in order to help your business, either doing the local tours or doing some sort of online
Hmm.
related thing. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna marinate in that for a minute, and I'll just tell you. Um, I think I shared this document in the audit, but generally, I say there are 5 ways to make money with your podcast. I call it the
Hmm.
SMASH framework. One is sponsorship. This is people paying you to talk about them on your show. Then there is M for memberships, and this
Hmm.
is listeners pay you for more content or behind the scenes content. A is affiliate links, and so this is I genuinely don't recommend like Amazon, but like you get a small commission when someone buys something through your link. The second S is selling, so you're selling a product or a service, and the H is helping, and this is usually like um, coaching, consulting, right?
Uh-huh.
And so one of the ways that I make money through this podcast is the helping side of things, right? I make these public, people see I can help them, and then they hire me.
Hmm.
Um, I think your show as it is right now, um, do you mind sharing download numbers or kind of listener
Yeah,
numbers?
yeah. Let me just check. Um, um, so, hmm. Yeah, so in the last 30 days, I had a bit of a drop. 1.26K.
Nice. Um, yeah, there's always like a summer slump. Like
Hmm.
numbers just kind of go down in July and August.
Hmm.
People are out of their normal routine, and so even if they know, like I think what do your episodes drop on? Oh, on Wednesdays. So even if like they're listening every Wednesday, right? If they're on vacation at the beach or something, maybe they're not listening as often. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there's like usually a summer slump there. So I think like usually memberships are something that like really big audiences can monetize.
Mm.
Um, that said, I think like so I mentioned this here in the audit. You know, membership could be a good bet where you do offer like a VIP tour or like a guided tour, like whatever you want to call it. Um, and I think again, like for context, I really want to lean into your experience as a tour guide here, right? Because you're not just like a guy who like read a history book and is talking about what he liked. You're someone who professionally takes people throughout a city and gives them historical context on things they're seeing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so like we want to really lean into that experience. And I think
Yeah.
you know, with a membership, you might have the opportunity to um give people like a behind the scenes look at how you put these episodes together. You can, you know, give them the scripts or notes that you have. Um, or you can, you know, if you're comfortable doing video, you can do little like live tour snapshots throughout the city and kind of give them some insight on some of the things that you're seeing. Um,
Yeah.
I think the challenge here, right, is that with something like this, most podcast memberships are $5 to $10 per month,
Mm.
and the juice may not be worth the squeeze.
Mm.
You know, if you only get like 5 people signing up, right?
Yeah.
I put myself into that box the first time I launched a membership, and I promised all of this stuff, and then like one person signed up. So,
Yes.
um, yeah. So this is like, um, I think a long-term plan for this could be to grow. Like, do you have a mailing list? I don't recall.
No,
Okay.
no, but I feel like I should, but I just never get round to it. But I think I do need to get round to it.
Yeah, I think this is going to be your first best step, or your best first step maybe, because here is where you can capture people who are interested, uh and then um and then similarly, right, like if you do scripts, which like I listened to your solo episode on uh oh my gosh, the space one that I'm like completely blanking on right
Voyager.
now. Yeah, the Voyager, right? Yeah. I listened to the whole thing. Like I thought it was really interesting. I didn't realize there were two.
Mm.
So like it was like a very and like so you have these. I assume that was scripted. If it wasn't scripted, that was very good.
No, no, it was scripted. It was
Yeah.
scripted. I would love to say
Um.
it wasn't, but it was.
Yeah. um. So like you're already doing this writing, and like you can release that on like Substack is a
Mm.
really good free platform where they, you know, I mean, like you pay like 10% on people who pay for the pro stuff, but 10% to get up and running very quickly. Uh,
How often should I put out the newsletter?
so this is it. I'm gonna tell you like whatever you feel comfortable with first, or whatever you feel like you have the bandwidth for first. I generally recommend at least weekly. My newsletter friends will say daily. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I do 2 to 3 per week, depending on my level of inspiration that week. Um, but the nice thing about what you have here, right, is you have a number of episodes, solo shows too, where you can. Um, One of the cool things about Substack is it was very purpose built for doing free and paid newsletters. And so it's really easy to like, if you put in your script for the Voyager, have the first couple of paragraphs free, and then have like a paid upgrade to get the whole thing, or
Right.
notes or
Uh-huh.
things that didn't make it, right?
Okay.
This is why I'm recommending Substack specifically, right?
Okay.
Um, they also have like a podcasting arm. I know you host elsewhere, but like you can do like quick private podcast, like a quick private podcast inside Substack as well. Um, And so that's another, this is like record this. My member episodes are not strictly like stream of consciousness thinking, but it's definitely more that. It's more like I'm talking to my members about stuff I'm working through, and
Okay.
that's the value for them, right? They're also probably solopreneurs, um, and so it just kind of helps. So like for you, it could be like, um, what did you find in your research? Like what's something that didn't make it to the script, right? This is a CGP Grey. I don't know if you're familiar with him on YouTube. Um, he has this guy. I mean, he does like deeply researched videos. He only publishes a video like once every couple of months, maybe. But like he's got a massive following. And one of the things that he does for his patrons, which I think he also releases on Substack, um, or his members, I should say, is just kind of like talk about the script writing process, right,
Right.
for that episode. So like, um, and again, I think like if you can build a following with your mailing list, this is the first thing, right? And this is like Substack is also really good for that part,
Okay.
the discovery side of things.
Cool.
Um, yeah, like podcast discovery is very hard. That's why I do these growth audits to like help people optimize how to be found more easily. Um, but there's nothing recommending podcasts, right? I think you do upload your show on YouTube, right? It makes it over there.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the questions I had. I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't really know if I should continue for now. I'm going to keep doing videos for the Tudor series because I've started and there's still. I just recorded an episode today, but there's still another like 8 episodes of the Tudor series left. So gonna carry on doing videos for that, but it's just I'm not getting enough views, and I just don't. It's just not really worth it. I don't think doing the videos of whole episodes. Could maybe do like promotional videos, but I don't know if putting the whole video up there is really worth my time and stress.
Yeah, this is tough. Because I fully recommend that people be on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
because of the discovery aspect and the fact that like in you like you can, they killed Google Podcasts and they're recommending that people move over to YouTube Music to listen to podcasts.
Oh, okay.
So I definitely think it's worth being on there. And I'll tell you that starting next week, I am releasing the video version of my of the Streamline Solopreneur. Um, and so I think it doesn't feel worth it now, but it could be worth it. So like I'm looking at your videos here. And it looks like you do like the side by side. What do you record? Where do you record? You record in Zoom or in something like Riverside?
No, record it on like a no, but that's actually a really good idea. I do have a Riverside subscription. I don't really know why I don't do it. Why I don't record it there. Um, but yeah, no. I record it and then send it to an editor.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so I mean, something that you could do, right? Because I talked to my editor about this. The reason that I am introducing video now is because he started doing video, right? Because this is like, I don't want to complicate my process, and having like a separate video and audio editor complicates things a little bit, right? And so
Okay.
the thing I talked to him about is, I have like my intro jingle and like the top takeaways and all that. And we basically decided like get to the point faster. And so basically what I believe what he does, because this is what I do when I edit my solo episodes, is record the video, clean up the audio, drop that in the video editor, make the chops, and then release two versions of it. But for the video version, record in Riverside, they'll do the side by side, or they can do the
Yeah.
AI switching as well.
Uh-huh.
And then, if they can do some of the cleanup, but like, um, and actually the cutting too. They'll do like they have like something similar to Descript.
Okay.
So if you're cutting content, right? So I guess Riverside will do the side by side, right? So that's like one of the things that you have to do in the edit, right? Because you're probably not getting that. Um, it'll sync. It should sync up the tracks, I should say. Um, and then you can like delete parts of the script if you're editing for content, and then upload that to YouTube. So this is actually what you'll see. Well, actually, I'm live streaming this, but I'm gonna send you this recording, so you'll kind of see like what a Riverside finished product looks like.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly because I've been recently doing a lot of recording with a co-host in person, and before when I was doing lots of online recordings, that would be done over Riverside.
Okay.
But because I've been doing a lot in person,
Yeah.
it's just been easier to record it on 2 cameras and then just send it to my editor. But okay, so you would recommend doing it in Riverside still?
I see. Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. That was lost on me. I guess I just always assume that people are doing remote interviews.
Yeah, these days I think it's probably more common to do it remotely, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. So are you're recording like on camera or into software?
On camera and into software.
Okay, cool. So I mean, yeah, something that you could do is like have both of those cameras feed into Riverside, or just like use Riverside as the studio, and both you and your guest are kind of in the same shot on one
Yeah.
camera.
Uh-huh.
That could make things a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably would.
The other thing I am noticing is that you have the channel, but something that YouTube has offered now is you can turn one of your playlist, or you can turn your playlist into a podcast.
Okay.
So let me show you. I think I can do this. I think I can. That's probably something I can do, right? Here in Riverside. So I'll share my screen really quick so you can kind of see what's happening here.
But also, so long story short, you think it's best if I do stay on and keep uploading episodes to YouTube?
Yes. And I can tell you after this, I'll tell you like one other way that maybe you could just like have the presence on YouTube.
Okay.
So if I go into YouTube Studio, you'll see my De Niro face. If we go to, so we can go to content, and then you could see, well, I don't have any here. This is not the right channel. There we go. This is the right channel. I've got under content, I have a podcasts section, and the Streamline Solopreneur is a podcast there. I'll make this big so you can see it. So you can create a new podcast, or you can go to your pre-existing playlist.
Right.
And then you can mark this as a podcast, set as a so in this 3 dots, set as a podcast, this will basically signal to YouTube like, hey, this is a podcast, like make sure it's in YouTube Music as well, and if people, and like you can recommend it as a podcast there.
Oh, amazing. You know what, I'm gonna do that now before I forget.
Yeah. The other thing that you can do, and this is so you won't, so if we would lose the video, format here, but if you just want to have a presence on YouTube, if I go to my podcast here, and I go to scroll down, you can connect your RSS feed.
Yeah.
So it will automatically ingest the audio and use your podcast artwork as the video. So the final result, I have my VA update the thumbnail.
Okay.
You're gonna get something like this, where it's just the audio. Oh, can you not? Oh, you can't see that. Can I open this in the same window? No. I'll share.
Can you only do one playlist?
You can do multiple playlists, and so this is what you get with YouTube automatically ingesting. It's like a pretty sterile video, but like it's there for people to consume if they want it.
Okay.
I will say my perception is that video is more engaging.
Yes.
And so like if but also if if it's just the video, right? Like record it and clean up the audio, cut out things you mess up, and upload that like without the all the intro stuff. And my thought and my editor's observations are that that will perform better. Um, it's kind of, I think about like John Boy Media. They're like a sports media um company here they're based in the US. They cover New York sports, which is why I like them. Well,
Uh-huh.
they cover all sports, but they made their name in New York sports.
Right.
Um, they live stream their episodes,
Okay.
and then they release them as a podcast later. And so, like, I don't know how much editing they do on the back end. I don't think they do a lot, but um, the point is that like when you're putting something on YouTube is a slightly different form. There are different expectations on YouTube, and so you don't need the like welcome to the History Buff podcast where you just like get into the interview, and I think people will appreciate that better. So,
Okay.
and then your question about playlists. So, what YouTube recommends is you have one playlist that mimics your RSS feed, right? So it should have the same title of the show, the same description, and then the episodes listed in reverse chronological order, like you would find on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And then you can create other playlists because you do series, right? And so, like, playlists for those series or clips are also okay. So that's what they recommend.
Okay.
And that's that again like signals to them like, hey, these aren't just videos, this is a podcast, make sure it's in YouTube Music.
Okay. Cool. Okay, yeah, I've done that.
Cool.
Great. Yeah, no, and yeah, I also had a question about the name because I'm considering maybe changing the name of the podcast. But I might email you with that just
Okay.
because I don't really want to say the name.
Yeah, you don't want to put it out there for sure.
Yeah. So I'll
Um,
email you and you can let me know what you think.
yeah, cool. I think
Um,
like general advice there is like, well, I think I say this in the audit, right? Like use terms that people are looking for. I will say like for podcast workflows, we're on season 5 of that show, I think, and I've changed the name 3 times. Like
okay.
it was the Make Money Podcasting podcast, then it was the Profitable Podcaster, and now it's podcast. So 3 times in 5 seasons.
Okay.
I think like I wouldn't recommend that. That show is just very experimental for me.
Right.
But like this show, the Streamlined Solopreneur, was called How I Built It for 8 years before I rebranded. And so I think like I didn't see a drop off in listenership. It just like clearly communicate that. But the thing to think about with the name is like, what are people searching for? And how can you kind of differentiate yourself?
Okay. Cool.
But yeah, feel free to email me that and I can give you some feedback.
Will do. Yeah, let me know that. Yeah, I mean, I mean, that's all for me. I think, yeah, I mean, I think I definitely need to do my mailing list. That's probably the thing that I need to do the most urgently. But yeah, is there anything else that you need to add?
I wanna circle back on leveraging your podcast for your business, because I do think, or for like your side hustle maybe, because I do think that this is like the fastest. Well, it's the maybe not fastest, but it's the I think it's the best way to a good payout, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I can tell you sponsorships. I'm a sponsorship coach for my friend Justin Moore at Creator Wizard. And like we're big on like small audience sponsorships exist. I'm an example of that, right? Like I had sponsors before my show launched.
Yeah.
Um, but that is a tough road, and it's like it is a full-time job. Not a full-time job, but it's a significant portion of your work to like reach out to sponsors and educate them.
Yeah.
Um, and like that could lead to a good payout, and like we could talk a bit about that. But I think like if your podcast is related to what you do professionally, there is an opportunity to leverage that to get clients or customers.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
so
certainly use I certainly use my tours in Berlin to promote my podcast. So maybe it's a matter of doing it the other way as well.
yeah, I think so. And like, I mean, so with that, like you could have, maybe as part of your membership, you can have like the local flair level, right? Where you maybe you I don't know if you could do this for the company you work with, but like you could record a walking tour, right?
Yeah.
Um and I know like that's a little tough. Maybe you have video on for that, but um and kind of like dig into, or you can do the tour and then like pick topics and talk about that. But like local flair might be like $5 a month and you get like the Berlin tour special, right?
Yeah.
Um and like maybe for $10 a month it's like you get the local flair, but then you get the behind the scenes stuff as well. Um and
Also,
then yeah,
also have a question.
yeah.
Do you think maybe also, because I have two formats of my episodes, co-hosted and also
Yeah.
solo, do you think a good way to increase listener numbers would be to release each, one of both each week? Do you think the more stuff you release, the better, or do you think doing once a week is enough?
I think so. I'll say this. I've given you a lot of homework. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much on your plate. I think if we're prioritizing, like you said, the newsletter is the
Yeah.
place where you should invest your time the most. If you have like a huge back catalog of stuff, uh, and and you think like releasing two a week isn't going to dramatically increase your workload, I think that's great, right? Like Tom Webster wrote about this in his new book, The Audience is Listening. Um, more episodes means more visibility for the people who subscribe, right?
Okay.
So, like, somebody said, like, hey, the way to double your downloads is to release two episodes a week. And while that's like technically true, it's also like saying, I sold 2 times my inventory by offering buy one, get one, right? Like, you didn't make more money, you just moved more stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it does make you more top of mind, right? Like if the history buff or Project X, whatever you're thinking about renaming it, is showing up more in a person's feed, then they will be thinking about you more. They'll be higher perceived value.
Okay.
And so I think if that's in your bandwidth, yeah, definitely do that.
Okay. Cool.
Um, and then as far as I just wrote a newsletter about this morning, actually. As we
Yeah.
were
I just had a quick read of it. It's super interesting.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. So I would encourage you to look at your download numbers, specifically your um completion rates in Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever your show's more popular. Um for solo versus interviews.
Yeah.
Um because that could be a signal to you that, hey, people might appreciate shorter solo
Yeah.
episodes better.
Yeah. No, and
Um
I think it's good because it does allow me to kind of be a bit more concise. Also, in my solo episodes, I tend to include sound effects as well.
Yeah, I noticed that. I
Um,
really liked that.
just because, well, I just do think that if it's just you talking for 20 minutes about something, it can get a little not boring because obviously, hopefully, the content is interesting enough. But it just makes it a little more exciting to the listener.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're doing like a scripted story, like, um, I think like you have the right touch, right? Like when I was trying to do that for mine, I probably got like a little too heavy-handed, right? And then
Mm,
it got like distracting.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I think like especially if you're going through a story, um, like having those sound effects and like you're changing the mood a little bit, or you're signaling to someone that like, hey, something has changed here,
mm.
and that keeps them more engaged as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Cool. Okay. Well, I guess I am actually also planning on going back to university in September. So this is already, I think, yeah, probably quite a lot of actually to get a history degree, so I can finally have a piece of paper saying that yes, I know what I'm talking about. Um,
That's awesome. So I will say here, right, because I freelanced all through high school and college. Um, Definitely leverage your podcast for your schoolwork and vice versa as much as you can.
what do you
Um,
mean?
so like I got my degree in computer science.
Yeah.
And whenever I had a school project that I had to do, I almost always I got the okay from the teacher, but I almost always made it a client project. So I'd
Okay.
basically be getting paid to do this work and then I could use it for a school project. So like if you have to do like a research paper on whatever,
Turn it into
um
a podcast episode.
turn it into a podcast episode. Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's did not think about that, but yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah. Or vice
Cool.
versa. Like if you've done the work already, just, bring it to your teacher and be like, "Hey, I've already done a bunch of this stuff. Uh can I use any or all of it for this project?"
Awesome. Okay. Um, great. Um, yeah, I mean, I sort of. Do you have anything else you need to add, or is
Um
that everything?
so I th- uh so I think so we touched on the tour guide stuff a little bit.
I
The other
will
th-
say, I
yeah.
will say, I, I know that I should do that because obviously, it's how I earn my money at the moment. But I will say that tour guiding is not, um, it's not really like I don't want to build my tour guiding up to make it my main thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really important to know. Yeah, for sure.
Because
Um
this is why I want to focus more on my podcast, because I want to make my podcast. Obviously, I know that making a podcast monetizable enough in order to live off is a lot harder said than done, but I just want to make sure that that is the uh, the ultimate place I would like to end up. Whether or not I end up there, different matter. But yeah, it's something that I would. I mean, that's the reason why I set up the podcast, is
yeah.
because, like, you know, touring around the city and just talking about German and Berlin history. The reason why I set up the podcast is because I want to be able to talk about all kinds of history.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is a really important distinction, right? Yeah, so I think maybe the reframe here is leverage your experience as a tour guide
Yeah,
to give yourself credibility.
yeah,
Don't necessarily build your business around the fact that, or build your podcast around the fact that you are a tour guide.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Um
Also, I have a question because I do have some money that I can spend on the podcast,
mhm.
and I just wondered what your advice would be where to spend the money.
Yeah.
I have all the equipment.
Yep.
I pay for editors, which, not gonna lie, it's amazing because it saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I don't know, is there somewhere I can like pay for advertising? Is there just something that I can, I don't know, is that like where would you put the money? Where would you advise me to put money that I have to spend on the podcast?
Ooh, yeah, this is a really good question. I think paid advertising is tough if you don't have your positioning down
Mm,
perfect. Like you not all eyeballs are made the same, right? And if you I think like one of the best things that you can do is like look at your mission statement for like the mission statement kind of format that I provided in the audit,
Yeah.
because that'll tell you the type of people you're looking for.
Yes.
I think this is a really good question. Oh, editor is always the first one, right? I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll hire an editor, and you're doing
Like
that.
I just back when I was editing my episodes and videos, it just took so
Took
long,
so long.
and it's life changing. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, you wouldn't really recommend going for advertising.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to recommend like paid advertising. What you could try, right, is like bespoke advertising in podcast apps like Overcast,
Okay.
where you're advertising directly to podcast listeners.
Yeah.
And like the way Overcast does it is like you have to advertise either in every category or in the category in which your podcast exists.
Yeah.
So like I had a technology podcast a while back and I wanted to advertise in the business category, and he was like, nah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
can I not do it on Spotify? I feel like Spotify would be a no-brainer place to do it, but I can't. It's quite complicated.
Yeah. That's a really good. Spotify is quite complicated. Yes, you could do it there. Um, the difference between advertising on Spotify / Megaphone, right? And like one of these podcast apps is that you're buying a banner ad in the app. And so like as people are browsing categories or looking for something they want to listen to, they'll basically see yours like at the bottom.
Right.
So the CPM is usually good for that. You can definitely advertise in Spotify. I don't.
Where would be the places that you would recommend for specific podcast advertising?
Yeah. So I had success with Overcast.
Right.
What I would do is look at I would look at which apps are popular for you.
Right.
It sounds like Spotify is probably that, right?
Yeah.
So
Also, Overcast actually as well is popular for me.
yeah, that's awesome. Overcast is great, right? And so like this is where you know your people are hanging out.
Yeah.
And then I don't have Spotify Premium, so I reckon I would see ads. But yeah, like Spotify's advertising arm is Megaphone.
Okay.
And so like you buy dynamic ads based on like some lookalike audience, which is like it's very Facebooky, right? It's like buying Facebook ads. And so I wouldn't start there because it could get expensive, and if you miss your target, it's going to be like wasted money.
Okay.
Whereas like advertising in Overcast, Castro, and Pocket Casts are like three like popular third-party podcast listening apps. It's much more straightforward. It's like, hey, you're gonna buy a spot for X days. We'll show you at the top of the history category. So it's just putting your show in front of more eyeballs.
Cool.
The thing I would do before that, right, is if you're rename and test it, right? Like talk to some people. And then I also made some recommendations on your artwork.
Yeah.
And so I would also consider that. Because I think like I think I said in the audit, like I like what you did. I liked what you're trying to do there. I don't think it stands out a lot. And so like you want your artwork you basically want to look at the screenshot I sent or look at your show in a directory and see where your eye is drawn. And just like navy blue with the red is like that's tough. So
it needs to pop more.
Yeah. Like you want your eye to be, you want people's eyes to be drawn to oh, did I not include a screenshot here? Surely I did. Oh, see here. Yeah, that's dumb. Notion yelled at me for some reason, so I had to include it separately. I can share this up here though. Yeah, so this is what we have here. Um, so like my eye was probably drawn to like the real buffs, right? Because like that orange is just very um eye catching.
Yeah.
And I think this was I explicitly searched the history buff here.
Right.
So this is like another benefit of like a potential rename or tagline is like um it'll be terms that people are just searching for, right? Like I think if I search well, I haven't tried this in a while, but when I was searching streamlined or when I was searching solopreneur, I was in the top 5
Okay.
for just like that one word, and that's like big. That's good for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would, I would consider this, and again, like your mission statement um, could help with this, right? Like if you serve a specific type of audience, or if you cover like a specific type of history, like you probably want some imagery there. I think I gave you kind of some brainstorming advice. That was very smooth on Riverside. I closed that window and it stopped sharing the screen. That was nice. Um, but I do think you followed, I think, the most important rules to me very well. Like you don't have a ton of text on it. You don't have a microphone or headphones, which is like we know it's a podcast.
Hmm.
It's like putting a cover. It's like putting a book cover on your book cover.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think like yeah, with like maybe a brighter color,
Okay.
especially because like a lot of history podcasts go with like like a darker color palette, like a
Yeah.
little bit moody, I
Uh-huh.
guess. Um, so like it doesn't have to be like I don't know. I was gonna say pink because that's the brightest color I could, but like yellow. It doesn't have to be yellow. Um, but like something a little bit brighter and like eye catching.
Okay.
Um, I think would be really good there.
Cool.
Um,
Um,
the main thing you want to do is like optimize for small, right? People are going to be browsing on a phone, and if they can't immediately tell what it is,
yeah.
then they're going to scroll past it.
Okay. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, the new name that I'm thinking of has some interesting. Well, it allows me to basically design something that would be very particular to the podcast.
Cool.
But anyway, I'll email. I actually have to go now. I have a
Okay.
meeting. But thank you very much. This is yeah, definitely a fairly hefty to-do list. I am going to send you the name that I'm thinking of now, and if you could let me know what your thoughts are, that would be really great.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll send you a summary of this and like maybe like a prioritize. I'll update the audit
Oh, great.
to-do list there to prioritize it.
Okay.
And since you're seeding some time, if you think of any other questions in the next few days, let me know and I'll answer them with the video.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks, Artie. Have a
Cool.
good
I've got
rest
to
of
go
your day.
now.
All right.
Cheers, you too. Bye.
Bye.